for today, November 7th, 2018. First item on the agenda is public comment. Are there any public comment? There being none, we'll move on to item 2. Item 2 is a review of the minutes of the 10/24/18 meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion's made to approve the minutes of the 10/24/18 meeting. Is there any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed, motion's carried. Administrative business. Is there any administrative business that anyone wants to bring up? Appears to be none. Moving right along. Old and new business, a lease agreement for the DPW for a Mack rubbish truck. The Superintendent of Public Works is requesting an approval for a lease agreement with All American Investment Group for the purchase of a 2018 Mack rubbish truck.
Just very quickly, we're purchasing a new truck that was approved at town meeting. We're trading in our old white side load truck, which we currently have a lease on. So this lease includes paying off the old lease, and it includes the trade for the trade-in value of the old vehicle. So the total principal amount on this is $236,937. Borrow that over 7 years, so our payments would basically stay pretty close to the same as what they were with the old truck. But the old truck, as we had discussed, the recycling is so overwhelming and successful, I guess, but it barely fits the recycling, so it's really not a serviceable truck for us. So we're going to buy another rear load, and we're just wanting approval to lease that off of this All American, which is the same group we've been dealing with.
Any questions by members of the board? Being none, what's the pleasure of the board on the lease agreement for the Mack truck?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement for the Mack rubbish truck.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the lease agreement for the Mack rubbish truck for the DPW. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
Thank you, Chris.
Project engineer. Community and Economic Development Director Phil Duffy is requesting approval to contract with GCG Associates of Wilmington, Mass. For project manager services to oversee construction of the Walnut Street Improvement Project. Mr. Duffy's not here.
I think he's downstairs.
I mean, this has been discussed before. And,
Yeah. It's been discussed
If the
before.
chair would allow, I'd make a motion that we approve that contract.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and second to approve the contract for GCG Associates of Wilmington, Mass. to provide project manager services to the construction of Walnut Street improvement. Any discussion?
Just real quick, I don't think anything's obviously changed, but was that like pending review of something like town solicitor or something? I don't know. I just don't know why we didn't approve it before. Was it not ready or something?
I don't think it was
ready.
ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. All right, that's all I had, thanks.
Okay. Any other discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed, motion's carried. Town administrator is recommending approval of a contract with Corviello Electric Incorporated in the amount of $35,758 for the installation of LED streetlight conversions in Clinton. The company was the low bidder as part of the grant process administered by the Metropolitan Area Planning Commissions. Fixtures will be delivered during the month of November, and installation will be scheduled thereafter. And a copy of the contract was enclosed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we grant the contract bid to Corviello Electric Incorporated in the amount of $35,758.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to award this contract. Is there any discussion? I will just say that this also has been discussed at some length quite some time ago. This is to change the actual light fixtures to LED, and I assume that the $35,758 is our portion of the total cost, which I expect is much more than $35,000.
Right.
Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed, motion's carried. Next is a Boy Scout camping trip. Mr. Brian Tui of Sterling is requesting permission to hold an overnight camping trip for Boy Scouts on Weeki Peaky property owned by the town of Clinton, and a letter was enclosed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll grant the permission. I believe we've done this in the past, I believe, and
We have done this.
and gone through the town solicitor as well, and so I'd be in favor of it.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded to grant permission to the Boy Scouts via Mr. Tui to camp on the Weeki Peaky property. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion's carried. Local guidelines for marijuana facilities. The selectmen would like to develop the local process for accepting applications to site marijuana facilities in Clinton. Enclosed to begin this discussion is the guidance used by the town of Shrewsbury. Information enclosed. Does anyone on the board wish to proceed with this tonight?
I'd like more time to review it, because I haven't had a chance to read it, so.
Yeah, what's in your package, that's what states it, that's from the town of Shrewsbury, that's the guidelines that they use
Mhm.
for applications, so it's a good starting point. Well, once you have time to review it, you'll see it really just mirrors a lot of the regulations that the Cannabis Control Commission has already put out, so, there's nothing in there that's, I think some of it may be putting the cart before the horse, some of the things they're asking for, I'm not convinced that you need to ask for that at that point in time.
Right.
So I'd recommend the board take a look at it,
Mhm.
maybe next meeting provide any feedback, then Michael and I can take it and come up with the town's own guidelines, if the board still wants to go forward with it. Okay.
Well, hearing no objection, I would say we'll just defer discussion on that until the next meeting. Next item on the agenda is a donation request for the item appeal. Board of Selectmen received a letter soliciting donations for the item appeal, and last year we donated $500. What's the pleasure of the board with
Mr.
regard
Chairman,
to
I'll
this
make a
request?
motion to donate $500 to the item appeal.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to donate $500 to the item appeal. There any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed, motion's carried. Town solicitor is recommending that a home rule petition be drafted in response to requests for the Clinton Conservation Commission to create an alternate member for their commission that can be available to help make a quorum meeting similar to the zoning board of appeals. And I assume, Mr. Solicitor, this would be for next town meeting.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, I'm not necessarily recommending it, but that's the steps that we would have to take if we wanted. The statute doesn't provide for an alternate, so there are some other municipalities within the state that have done that. They've, filed for special legislation to have an alternate added. Typically those are allowed. So if we want to go down that path, we would just have to have an article on to file the special legislation next town meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
may, that means that at town meeting, if this were approved, we could then file the request for a home rule petition, and it could take probably a year or even longer.
You're correct, absolutely. I mean, the real way to solve, and I'm not even convinced that adding an alternate is gonna solve the problem. The problem really has to get solved by people who are committed to attending, Just because you have another alternate doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna, if that alternate is someone who really wants to be a permanent member, then they should be a permanent member as opposed to an alternate. I mean, it's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna solve the problem.
And does it create the problems that we had discussed in that if an alternate's gonna participate in a decision, they have to be part of the conversation or been in attendance?
You're gonna have that
The
same problem.
initiation of
You can't have someone coming in for one meeting and then stepping out, someone else coming in. If you have an ongoing hearing, an ongoing matter, it has to be the same person. And you only get to miss one of those meetings. The one you miss, you have to, go and watch the meeting, review the meeting minutes. There's a statute on that. But you can't have people popping in and out. So it really only solves a problem if you have someone who's gonna be on extended leave. This
Right.
alternate's gonna step in. I don't think it's gonna correct the problem that we're currently experiencing with people just not, not being committed to the position. I mean, but it can't hurt to have it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I would take the position as the Conservation Commission asked us to do it, that we probably should do it.
Yeah, I would, like I said, it
That's
can't
what I
hurt to
think.
have
I
that.
mean, it may not solve the problem, but I don't know. So what is the pleasure of the board with regard to this?
We're gonna have to bring it forward to town meeting.
So, does
Yeah, I make a
anyone wish to
motion that we
make a
move
motion
forward
to-
with it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we request town council, working with the town administrator, to draft a proposal for town meeting.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to ask town solicitor to draft a home rule petition for the next town meeting to request a process for creating an alternative member for the Clinton Conservation Commission. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed, motion's carried. Goals and objectives. Anybody have anything to report on goals and objectives? There being nothing.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
does this fall under committee reports? I was gonna do it then, but,
Well, we're gonna do committee
all right,
reports.
so I'll hold.
Committee reports,
Respect. Now we're to committee reports. Mr. Chair.
yes.
The tax classification subcommittee had its final meeting on October 30th, and I'm preparing our recommendation I was hoping to have it tonight, but I'll have it to you prior to next meeting so that we can discuss it then, or if we want to hold it off until the hearing itself. I don't think it's going to surprise anybody or change many minds, but I wanted everyone to know that we did take our charge seriously, and I appreciate especially the two citizen participants who helped us out. I appreciate their time. So I'll have something, I'm just trying to digest a lot of long, dense meetings into something you guys can actually read and get something from it. So that will be coming soon.
I would say that it would be beneficial to look at it before the tax classification hearing.
We should have a
Right.
month before the tax classification. Yes,
Okay,
but we're not gonna have it until 2 weeks before the tax classification committee meeting. Tax classification, meeting is the first Wednesday or the second Wednesday in December, which
December,
is
yeah.
less than a month away.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be so long, but,
What do you mean so long?
I mean, I don't think the report is going to be so long that it would take weeks to read.
No, I'm going to try and keep it very short.
Yeah.
But
I
what
mean, I think
happens,
we'll have a meeting, we'll have time to discuss it, is what I think I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that we have to have a tax classification meeting, and we have to make those decisions that relate to that meeting, and it would be helpful to have the report of the subcommittee to at least review and have on our minds when we meet to discuss the tax classification. And it would be much more helpful to have it than not have it.
Right, yeah.
Right,
So I
yeah.
think we're gonna have it,
You will, yeah.
yeah. Okay. Anything more on that?
No.
All right, I mean, actually, I'll tell you the truth, I think this is going to end with more of a whimper than a bang.
Yeah, again,
To
as I've
be
been
honest
saying
with
all
you.
along, there's no magic bullet that we've discovered or secret path to success. It's a lot of anecdotal reports, and it's a lot of, it basically came down to a question of what we want the split to be, and I don't want to, I can tell you now, whether we want to use it. There are two philosophies to moving the split. We looked at both and came up with a recommendation. We do not think it's necessarily the right answer, but it's what the people who came together and volunteered for this thing agreed on. Again, I don't think it's, the frustrating thing here is that there's not any magic answer to if we do this with the tax split, this is going to happen. So I'll present what we came up with, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
will those members of that subcommittee be present during that?
I can ask them.
I believe they should be.
We were in agreement, so there weren't any dissenters as far as what we came up with. But I will, I'll talk and,
Did the tax classification subcommittee think about having extra public hearings?
all the meetings were open to public.
Yes, but public hearings, such as we changed the trash service for the town of Clinton, which
Yep.
was
Again,
$10,
this-
$20. We had 2 or 3 public hearings with hundreds of people sitting before me as chairman.
Yes, I understand.
And
I
we
just-
have 0, actually, we do have one, you corrected me, or this board corrected me, we do have a public hearing during the tax classification subcommittee, hearing in December, which is gonna be the first week or the third week of December, which could be snowing, is gonna be icy out. And so you have no, I'm just baffled about that.
Okay,
That you
just-
guys don't have more than one, public hearing for the taxpayers of the town of Clifton.
I think we're talking about two different things here. We set the tax rate as a board, and we hold a public hearing. Mr. Jaconski and I were asked to come up with some recommendations. These are non-binding recommendations. What we decided has no effect on how this board votes. Take it or leave it. We were asked to sit down and, to the best of our ability, come up with some recommendations, non-binding recommendations for this board. What we decide on that day, to my understanding, is the important thing, and that's when the public will have a chance to speak up.
And you're totally right. That's what the trash subcommittee did. They brought us their findings, but they also included several public hearings, so the public could meet and speak to them. Why didn't the tax classification have public hearings? They should have.
Because the charge to the committee was to provide some advice to the Board of Selectmen. We formed a subcommittee to develop that advice. We're going to give that advice to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
I don't know that I would need the public to tell me what my opinion should be. Perhaps you do,
I disagree.
but I don't. If I have an opinion, I have that opinion.
Yeah, the committee was just an advisory to come back to the board and say, this is what we found. And
But
then
I was
we have the
also
public.
promised the findings of the subcommittee report last week, or 2 weeks ago, a month ago, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm gonna get it right before the tax classification, meeting, which is in December. I'm gonna get it right before the meeting. I just,
It's gonna be like, is it gonna be 2 pages long?
I don't think it's
it
gonna
doesn't
change.
matter, Michael. I was told I was gonna get it a month
And I
ago. I was
apologize.
told I was gonna get it 2 weeks ago. Now I'm gonna get it 2 weeks from now.
Well, you
It
just have to speed read it, David.
Gonna
You know?
have to.
Get yourself a magnifying glass and
I-
speed
it's-
read it.
I'm gonna
I
have to, Mike.
sincerely apologize for the delay. We had a meeting, and I'm trying to put it all together again, so that it's not a bunch of, with all due respect to the assessors, it's not a dense document. I want to make it clear how we came to this thing, and we spent a lot of time looking at a lot of very, it's not exciting material. So I wanted to make sure that it was something that the board could get something out of if it chooses. I sincerely apologize for having it, for it being late, and I'll do my best to get it to you guys next week.
Well, we'll have another meeting before the 5th anyways. that
Yes.
Week, whether we meet on
Yes,
Tuesday, Monday, whatever.
we may have 2
Yeah.
before that hearing. Anything else? Any old or new business?
Just under the general correspondence, I see here that the town of Clinton was awarded another $65,087 in Chapter 90 fund money, so I think that's great. I'd like to thank our State Representative Howard Naughton, and our 2 senators, Harriet Chandler and Dean Tran. I'd like to thank them for, their additional support getting us that extra money. Every little bit helps when it comes to infrastructure, so just wanted to say thank you, and I think that's great. Definitely can use it, so thank you.
Anything further? Not there being nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. There any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed, motion's carried. Meeting is adjourned.